Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going into a really powerful story from the King James Bible, the Book of Ruth.
Yes, it's quite short, but wow, it packs a lot in. History, human emotion, cultural details, themes that, still hit home today.
Exactly. So think of this as our closer look. It's presented as history, right? Part of the Old Testament. Our goal is to really get into the story, the events, sure, but also the relationships, the cultural backdrop, and what it might mean for you listening.
And it kicks off with hardship. There's a famine in Judah during the time of the judges.
Right. So Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons, they pack up and head to Moab to survive.
But sadly, survival there isn't guaranteed either. Elimelech dies, so Naomi's a widow.
Then her two sons, Mahlon and Chilion, they marry Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. But then tragedy strikes again.
Both sons die too, leaving Naomi not just widowed but childless in a foreign country with only her two Moabite daughters-in-law. I mean, it's just loss upon loss.
It's hard to imagine, but then word gets back to Naomi that the famine in Judah is over. The Lord has provided food again.
So naturally, she decides it's time to go home, back to Bethlehem.
And this is where we see this really incredible moment of decision, of loyalty. Naomi tells Orpah and Ruth, go back. Go back to your mother's houses. She wishes them well.
She's being practical, releasing them. And Orpah, well, she makes the sensible choice, really.
Yeah.
She kisses Naomi goodbye and heads back to her people. It's completely understandable.
But Ruth clings to her, and her words are just unforgettable. It's worth hearing them properly. Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest I will go, and where thou lodgest I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God.
It keeps going.
Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me.
That's Ruth 1:16-17, and the depth of that. It's more than just saying, I'll come with you. She's choosing Naomi's people, Naomi's God, Naomi's entire future, even where she'll be buried.
It's a total commitment, isn't it? Especially crossing cultural and religious lines like that. It's huge.
Absolutely radical for the time. So these two women, Naomi and Ruth, they make the journey back to Bethlehem together.
Can you picture their arrival? Naomi left years ago with a husband and two sons. Now she's back, empty-handed, except for this foreign daughter-in-law. The town must have been buzzing.
Oh, definitely. The text says the whole city was moved about them, asking, is this Naomi?
And her response just drips with bitterness. She says, basically, don't call me Naomi, which means pleasant.
Right. She says, call me Mara. For the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again empty. Mara means bitter.
Ooh. You feel that deep sense of loss, that feeling that life, or maybe God, has dealt her a terrible hand.
It really sets the stage for what comes next. They've arrived right at the start of the barley harvest. They have nothing.
So facing this, Ruth steps up. She shows real initiative. She asks Naomi, can I go to the fields and glean, follow the harvesters and pick up the leftover grain?
Which was a provision for the poor, but still not easy. Especially for a widow, and a Moabite one at that.
Yeah.
Potentially vulnerable.
And as it happens, or perhaps as the story implies, it's more than just chance.
Right. Providence, maybe?
She ends up in a field belonging to Boaz. And the text immediately tells us he's a kinsman of Naomi's late husband, Elimelech.
And this connection is key. It turns out Boaz isn't just some random landowner.
No, not at all. And he notices Ruth. He sees her working hard.
And he does something remarkable. He approaches her, calls her my daughter, tells her to stay in his field, keep close to his female workers.
And specifically tells his young men not to bother her. Have I not charged the young men that they shall not touch thee? That's significant protection.
It really is. He even tells her to drink the water his men have drawn. This is extraordinary kindness to a complete stranger, a foreigner.
And he knows who she is. He says he's heard all about her loyalty to Naomi, how she left her parents and homeland.
He even gives her this blessing in Ruth 2:12, basically praying that the Lord rewards her for seeking refuge under his wings.
Then, at mealtime, he invites her to eat with his workers, gives her bread, parched corn, more than she can eat.
And tells his reapers to let her glean even among the sheaves and to deliberately pull out extra stalks for her.
This is way beyond just allowing her to glean the leftovers. This is active provision, active kindness.
It's huge. So Ruth gathers a lot of barley, an ephah, which is quite a bit.
When she gets back, Naomi's amazed. Where did you glean today? Who showed you such favor?
And when Ruth tells her it was Boaz's field, a light bulb goes on for Naomi.
Yes, she connects the dots. She says in Ruth 2.20, "Blessed be he of the Lord, who hath not left off his kindness to the living and to the dead." She sees Boaz's actions as honoring Elimelech and her sons, too.
And crucially, she identifies him. The man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. That phrase, next kinsman, or goel in Hebrew, is loaded with meaning.
It implies responsibility, right? A kinsman-redeemer role.
Exactly. Responsibility for family land, inheritance, even potentially marrying a widow to continue the family line. Naomi sees an opportunity here, a path to security for Ruth.
So Naomi hatches a plan, and well, it's pretty bold. Unconventional, you might say.
Definitely raises eyebrows. She tells Ruth, okay, Boaz will be at the threshing floor tonight, winnowing barley. It's harvest time, a busy place.
Naomi's instructions are very specific. Ruth 3, verses 3 and 4, wash up, put on perfume, get dressed in your best clothes.
Then go down there secretly. Wait till he's finished eating and drinking and is laying down to sleep.
And this is the risky part. Uncover his feet and lay thee down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do.
It's a vulnerable act, placing herself at his mercy in a culturally significant way. What do you make of Ruth's reaction?
She just says, all that thou sayest unto me I will do. Total trust in Naomi. And she does it. She goes down, waits, and when Boaz is asleep, she uncovers his feet and lies down.
Imagine Boaz waking up in the middle of the night. Startled, he asks, "Who are you?"
And Ruth's reply in Ruth 3.9 is direct and carries that cultural weight we mentioned. I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art a near kinsman.
That phrase, spread thy skirt, it's a symbolic request for protection. But more specifically here, it's invoking his duty as kinsman redeemer. It's basically a proposal, asking him to take responsibility for her, potentially through marriage.
How does Boaz react? Is he shocked? Angry?
No, he's actually impressed. He blesses her and praises her character, her loyal kindness. He notes she hasn't sought out younger men, rich or poor, but has come to him, fulfilling this familial duty. He calls her a virtuous woman.
So he sees her action not as improper, but as deeply loyal and virtuous.
Exactly. But there's a complication, a legal one.
Okay. What is it?
Boaz says, "It is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit, there is a kinsman nearer than I." Someone else has the first right of redemption according to the law.
Oh, so it's not straightforward.
Not quite. But Boaz is honorable. He promises Ruth he'll sort it out in the morning. He'll approach the nearer kinsman. If that man fulfills his duty, fine. If not, Boaz swears by the Lord that he will.
Wow, he commits to it. And he doesn't send her away empty-handed either, right?
No, he insists she doesn't go back to Naomi empty. He gives her 6 measures of barley, a very generous amount, perhaps symbolizing provision and protection.
So Ruth goes back to Naomi. Naomi asks how it went, and Ruth tells her everything.
And Naomi's response is calm. She tells Ruth basically, "Sit still, my daughter, until thou know how the matter will fall. For the man will not be in rest until he have finished the thing this day." She trusts Boaz to act quickly.
And he does. He goes straight to the city gate, the place for legal matters, public business.
He sees the nearer kinsman coming by and calls him over. He gathers 10 elders of the city as witnesses.
Yeah.
Very formal, very public.
Okay, so the stage is set. What does Boaz do?
He presents the situation. He says, Naomi, who's back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech.
He tells the nearer kinsman, you have the first right to redeem it, to buy it back for the family. If you want it, redeem it. If not, tell me, because I'm next in line.
And initially, the kinsman says, okay, I'll redeem it. Sounds like a good deal, perhaps, acquiring more land.
But then Boaz adds the crucial detail, the condition.
Right. He says in Ruth 4, verse 5, "What day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance."
So buying the land means marrying Ruth and ensuring that any son they have would inherit that land, carrying on the name of Ruth's first husband, Mahlon.
Exactly. And that changes everything for the nearer kinsman. He immediately backs out.
Why? What's his reasoning?
He says, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance." He's worried about messing up his own family's property rights and lineage. Taking on Ruth and the obligation to Mahlon's line is too complicated or costly for him.
So he declines, and then we get this interesting custom to seal the deal.
Yes, the sandal ceremony. Back then, in Israel, to confirm a transfer of rights, like redemption or exchange, one man would take off his sandal and give it to the other. It was a public testimony.
So the near kinsman takes off his sandal, gives it to Boaz, publicly relinquishing his claim.
And Boaz, holding the sandal perhaps, turns to the elders and all the people there.
And he makes his declaration.
He says, "You are witnesses today that I have bought everything that belonged to Elimelech, Chilion, and Mahlon from Naomi.
And importantly,
Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren." He takes on the full responsibility.
what a moment. And the people, the elders, they respond with blessings.
They do. They bless Boaz and wish that Ruth will be like Rachel and Leah, the foundational mothers of Israel. They bless his household, hoping it will be like the house of Perez, who also had an unusual beginning in the lineage. It connects them to the core history of Israel.
So Boaz marries Ruth. The legalities are done. The community has blessed them.
And the story moves quickly to its culmination. The Lord gives Ruth conception, and she bears a son.
A son. After all the loss, finally new life.
And the women of the town rejoice with Naomi. This is key. They say to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, which hath not left thee this day without a kinsman, and he shall be unto thee a restorer of thy life and a nourisher of thine old age."
They recognize the baby, Obed, as Naomi's restorer. And look what they say about Ruth. "For thy daughter-in-law, which loveth thee, which is better to thee than 7 sons, hath borne him."
Wow. Better than 7 sons. That's incredible praise for Ruth's loyalty and love, highlighting her value beyond just bearing children, recognizing the relationship itself. Naomi, who was Mara, bitter and empty, now holds this child, this symbol of restored hope.
It's a beautiful turn from bitterness to joy, facilitated by Ruth's faithfulness and Boaz's integrity.
And then the final verses. The genealogy. It seems almost like an appendix, but it's profound.
Right. It simply states, Naomi took the child, laid it in her bosom, became nurse to it. The neighbors gave him the name Obed.
And then he is the father of Jesse, the father of David.
Boom. There it is. Obed, the son of Ruth the Moabitess, and Boaz, the landowner from Bethlehem, is the grandfather of King David.
Israel's greatest king. It connects this very personal story of loss, loyalty, and redemption directly into the main line of Israelite history and, for later traditions, the Messianic line. It's astonishing.
So wrapping up this deep dive, what are the main things we take away? For me, Ruth's loyalty stands out. That's just unwavering.
Absolutely. And Naomi's journey from Mara back to something like Naomi, again, her resilience, even her shrewdness in guiding Ruth, plus Boaz, his kindness, his integrity, sticking to the law, but doing so with compassion.
And that theme of redemption is huge, isn't it? Not just the land and the family line, but redeeming Naomi from despair.
And the inclusion. Ruth, the Moabite, the outsider, becomes this crucial figure, an ancestor of David. It challenges any narrow view of who belongs or who God can use. It's about faithfulness, not just bloodline.
It really shows how individual actions, acts of kindness, of loyalty, even unconventional ones, can have ripples far beyond what anyone could have imagined at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Boaz showed kindness to a poor foreign widow. Ruth showed loyalty to her grieving mother-in-law. Seemingly small choices in the grand scheme, but they changed history.
It leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? Like, what seemingly small acts of loyalty or kindness are happening in our own lives or could happen through us?
Right. What seeds are there, maybe unnoticed, that could grow into something significant, something that restores hope or changes a narrative, even if just for one person? We often don't see the full impact of our choices.
A powerful question to ponder from this ancient story. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.